So why exactly is this 2026 Toyota Tacoma one of the most popular off-road trucks you can buy? Well, I'm here in the mountains of Colorado, and we're about to find out. I'm at 10,000 feet above sea level, so I may be a little out of breath, so please forgive me. Now, for 2026, Tacoma has done exactly 3 changes, and 2 of those changes are in this truck. First and foremost, there's a new blacked out grille on the off-road models. There's a new color, Heritage Blue, same one you can get in the Land Cruiser. And if you get the SR model with the extended cab, you can now get, as standard, the towing package, and this truck tows right around 6,500 pounds, which for a mid-sized truck is good. Keep in mind the Toyota sells, get this, about 250,000 of these every year. It's the most popular truck in the segment, more popular than the Ranger, Colorado, Canyon, you know, all the mid-sizers that you think of. This is the king of the hill. One of the coolest things is this little button here, which is now on both sides. I think on the Tundra it's only on one side, and when you hit it, check this out. Look at that. Yep. Power tailgate. And then they've done something clever. On this side, you have a traditional plug, but on this side, hidden way up there, I don't know if you can see it, I can kind of show it to you, you have a 12 volt, but you have USB-C ports so that you can power all of your electronics. And of course, standard on the Tacoma is this plastic cover for the bed, which is nice. Unlike some full-size trucks, you don't have to go and get it Linexed or covered, which is now getting expensive. And of course, all you have to do is lift up on the tailgate and it comes up. I do love this Heritage Blue color. We also have this giant exhaust, which, you know, for a small engine, we'll get to that in a second, is pretty big. And then these Goodyear Wrangler Territory ATs, which are kind of, you know, semi-off-roady. I mean, they're all terrains, but it's probably a good compromise for on and off-road. Under the hood is no longer that classic 6-cylinder, but instead, for all of you fans of 4-bangers, I know there probably aren't many of you, let me show you, that's a 4-banger. Yes, that's right. That's a 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, puts out just under 300 horsepower. And this is not the hybrid. You can get this with the hybrid, which gives you more power. But keep in mind that, you know, with Toyota, basically, their cars are hybrids for fuel economy. Their trucks are hybrids for more power. And I think that, you know, I think it's 286, if I remember right, horsepower for this. Maybe it's 278. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I think it's 278. That's plenty for this truck, unless you plan to tow on a regular basis. Now, there are some cool little Easter eggs that Toyota has hidden. One of them is right here. Let me see if I can open it up. You might be wondering, what is this for? What is this little cubby for? I think that is a Morse code, Morse code for, you can put a speaker there. But if you do want a speaker or a little cubby hole, there is this optional JBL speaker that you can take out and put on the tailgate and use for, you know, your podcast or whatever you happen to be listening to. Let's get to the meat of the matter, and that is pricing. As you recall, if you're a fan of TFL, you know we bought one of these when it first came out, and it was $47,000. And this one, as tested, is going to be more expensive, and that's because it's got the premium package. So we're looking at a total of $55,000, starting at $43,000, and then you add, get this, $9,200 for the premium package, which gives you things like the TRD off-road premium package, the 5-foot bed, heated and vented power adjustable front seats, multimedia display. It's got the bigger display. It also has, oh, check this out. That's a pretty cool Toyota. Using a little bit of off-roading. Yeah, sweet 400, dude. What you get for your 9K here, you also get the portable speaker, which I showed you, and then the power in the bed, which is also cool. But like I said, 21 mpg combined, 19 city, 23 highway isn't exactly killing it. So I don't think that the hybrid gets all of that much more. We also have, oh, they did charge for a spray and bed liner. Look at that. $575. That's still cheaper, I think, than if you go to your local bedliner company. And it's nice that you don't have to deal with it because they keep the truck for a day and then you can't use it, yada, yada, yada. All right, so we're at $55,209, which is not, inexpensive. But like I said, you do have heated and cooled seats, a heated steering wheel, which is super sweet, this big screen, auxiliary switches over here, Toyota's big knobs, which are really nice, and just a lot of very nice features. In terms of off-road, of course, tow haul mode, different drive modes. You've got your crawl control, your multi-terrain select, MTS, and then a locking rear diff. We have a Canyon, which we bought for $57,000, which is only $2,000 more, which has very similar features, but it has a center, rear, and a front locker. So if you're looking for something that is a little bit more off-road, hardcore worthy, that would not be a bad choice. But of course, the Tacoma, let me put on my seatbelt here, is one of those trucks that in most of the country depreciates. I think the last time I looked it up was something like 10% over 3 years. And most cars depreciate between 30 and 40%. Same thing for trucks. So this is a vehicle that you're better off to buy new than used because it's going to cost you the same amount and you get a new vehicle. And so easy to lease, certainly, great for a residual value, which is also great for financing. And I think all that combined, like I said, makes it one of the most popular mid-sized trucks in the land. So before we go off-road on this trail, and if you want to know where Deer Creek is, it's off of Montezuma in Colorado. Get yourself some, and check this out. We're getting into some serious off-roading. And by the way, down there, free books for the locals. So if you're bored of off-roading, you can always get a free book from the local library here. But we are now in low, and we are good to go up this trail and enjoy some of what Colorado has to offer in terms of off-roading. We're here in May, and we haven't had a lot of snow this year. So this is the first time I've actually been up this trail this year. And I don't know if I can get all the way to the top because of the fact that there still is snow on the ground. So we're going to go as far as possible while not trying to bore you guys with the video. I did not air down because this, in essence, is a dirt road up here. So we're not doing any super hardcore off-roading, but it is a good test of this vehicle's ability to take you where the road ends and the fun starts. Now, one of the things I love about Tacomas is that they just are kind of the Goldilocks for off-roading. Maybe not for towing, maybe not for hauling your family, but certainly for off-roading, because as you go farther into the mountains, the trails become tighter and the bigger trucks start to have issues. So it's nice to have a mid-sized truck. In fact, I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of off-roading power wagons or super duties. I just think they're kind of big and cumbersome, whereas mid-sized trucks, and specifically this Tacoma, is very good off-road. Now, even though I haven't aired down, the ride is still very good. I don't know if you can see, but we're going to get into a little bit more of the rougher stuff pretty soon. But my head bob is not crazy. I'm not really getting bounced around. Of course, we haven't got to the rocky section, which is coming up pretty quick. But it is a relatively comfortable truck for both on-road and off-road. And I know that, just under 300 horsepower isn't going to blow anybody's socks off, but when you're off-roading, it's really not about horsepower. So it really doesn't matter that you don't have Raptor-like, or Ranger Raptor-like in this case, power. Oh, there's a Jeep. Look at him. Oh, look at him. Going over that hill. A Cherokee there. And now it's going to get a little bit more off-roady. We're going to start to have a little bit more fun. I'll show you kind of what we're going to be covering. There you go. You can kind of see what the road looks like and how that Jeep is doing as it starts to get into the more rocky section of this off-road trail. And a lot of people come here to Deer Creek. I think that's what that guy's doing, is to go camping. There's a lot of good camping sites up here, so if you're looking for a place to go camping, well, there's still a lot of snow up in the mountains. Look at that. That's a lot of snow. This is not a bad place for a little dispersed camping. And now we're getting into the rocks here, so let me show you how much head bob I have. And as you can tell, it's not horrible. And that's even without airing down. The other cool thing is we've got all kinds of cameras, including the one that acts as a rear mirror. If that bugs you, you can always just flip it and get a regular rear mirror. But then for your trail cameras, you hit this, and look at all those different trail cameras. So not only does it give you pitch and roll, but you also can change the angle. Look what's underneath the truck. Over here you can see next to you. I think that's in front. Oh, that's behind me. Look at that. That is behind me. That one is really behind me, so you can see where you've been. And then one of my favorites is, of course, that one. You can see where I'm going, which is nice. And, there's the rear view. Let me stick the camera out here so you have a better sense of what I'm crossing over here. Also, I think the Tacoma has a really sorted low range, so you know, you feel like you can really control this truck with your big toe. It gives you just the right amount of torque or power to kind of crawl your way over these big rocks so that you feel like you're in control, which is also nice. It's just a really nice package. Now, there are a couple controversies I think we should probably talk about that you guys might comment upon. Of course, first and foremost is the fact that the Tundra, in fact, last week just announced that they're recalling another 50,000 or so trucks. So now they're up to about 250 or maybe more trucks that they've had to recall because of that V6 power plant that Toyota says is not lasting because there's debris in the engine. Now there's a lot of controversy about whether indeed there is debris in the engine or there's something else. But it seems to me that that is certainly taken a huge chunk out of Toyota's reputation for reliability, unfortunately. When it comes to the Tacoma, there have been some issues, mainly with the transmission. People have been finding that there's issues with that. But it's always hard for us to comment on that. So, of course, you know, if you've been watching TFL, you know that we kind of blew up the front diff on this thing, and that was, according to Toyota, a software issue that they've since corrected. We were one of the first in the country to get one of these, and so we were the kind of the guinea pig. But it's hard for us to, you know, to comment on this stuff because you never know whether it's a serious problem, like the Tundra recall, which obviously is a hugely serious problem. It's costing Toyota billions to replace all those engines, and it's also pretty noteworthy that they are standing behind their engines and are replacing them, unlike you know, some other manufacturers that are, let's say, changing the viscosity of the oil. And if you're wondering about that, well, leave a comment below. I'm sure somebody knows what I'm talking about. But Toyota is doing the right thing, and they are replacing all those engines. 250,000 engines. Oh my God, that's got to be time-consuming, expensive. And maybe if I had a Tundra, I wouldn't be that bothered by it because I'd end up with a brand new engine in what could be a 30,000-mile truck. Anyway, let's go back to the Tacoma. It's hard to say if the transmission issues are real. I mean, there's nothing, I don't think, as far as I know, that is anything near what's happening with the Tundra. So that's good. But, you know, if you're the squeaky wheel, in other words, if you're the person who's having that issue with the transmission, you're probably going to go and tell everybody online, and then that gets reverberated, and, you know, the people echo that sentiment. And so it's really hard for us to tell, you know, what is hype and what is real. Every vehicle's going to have some issues, and I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just kind of trying to give you my perspective of when we have a staff meeting, what we talk about. And finally, kind of last controversy about this truck, of course, is that a lot of people aren't super excited by the 4-cylinder turbo. They worry about the longevity of this vehicle. specifically worry about the longevity of the turbo. That one is one of those classic journalistic time will tell, because we don't know. We just don't know, will this engine hold up? I can tell you that while that old six-cylinder, 3.5 liter V6, was venerable and long-lasting, it was not exciting. It never got along with the transmission. I remember driving the old Tacomas down the highway, always thinking to myself, why am I doing 10 miles an hour under the speed limit? And having owned this one for a year, I never had that issue. So personally, I'm a big fan of the four-cylinder turbo. I don't think you're getting better fuel economy, but I do think you're getting a lot more torque and you're getting a lot more power. And it's really where all these mid-sized trucks are at right now. Except, of course, unless you get the Ranger Raptor, which comes with the six-cylinder. But kind of it's the way of the world, The engineers have figured out that they can get the same amount of horsepower and the same amount of torque out of a smaller displacement engine, which I suspect is cheaper to build and a little bit more torquey and a little bit more horsepower, which is kind of, a win-win for everybody. All right, back to off-roading this Toyota. So I'm really enjoying myself. I think the longer wheelbase, I think that the amount of power that this truck puts out is great. I think the 6,500 pounds of towing is really good. And in general, it's just a very easy truck to live with. I love doing these splashies. Should we splash a little bit? What do you say? Hope I don't get the camera wet. Yeah, oh yeah, now we're having fun. Nothing like, I was gonna say spring skiing, but spring wheeling, huh? Here's another big splash. And don't do this, by the way, don't do this going over a stream. It's not good, but a puddle, hell yeah, open game. And here's like a big bump, and because this has, plenty of ground clearance, no issues. Now it's getting a little bit tougher. You can tell we're starting to hit, a little bit more rocks. It's getting a little steeper. It's getting a little bit more, let's call it Colorado. Now in general, I want to say this is like a 5 out of 10. You can go to Onyx and it'll tell you exactly. It'll also tell you if the trail is open, which is great. Very useful. But this is a very, look at that very big and steep little rut there. No problem. When I took the Ford, I took all the electric trucks here, not just the Lightning, but also the Chevy, just bottomed out right there because didn't have enough ground clearance and breakover. And this truck seems to have been designed with approach, departure, and breakover, which is almost perfect. And yeah, unlike the Canyon, you are missing that front locker. And unlike the Ranger Raptor, which, is now only $2,000 away from this, you are going to be missing the horsepower, the variable exhaust. But if you take the depreciation or the lack thereof into account and just how much this truck holds its value, I think that is a reason for, 9 out of 10 of you guys to take a serious look at this truck. Also, it's just a really fun truck. I'm trying to do a video here, but part of me is like just really having a good time. I haven't really been able to off-road for the entire winter because this just opened up this weekend, and I'm so stoked to be able to be out here enjoying the great outdoors before anybody else actually comes out here and does this. I'm going over some snow. Check this out. Look at that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, look at that. It's pretty amazing that here in May, I can actually go wheeling, because Colorado up here, especially, we call this the high country. Let's see where we're at now. How high have we gotten? Come on, watch, tell me. Almost 11,000, 10,770. Here in the high country, it's 8 months of winter. Here's a tip to the wise. Learn this the hard way. If you're going to go snow wheeling, which is what this is turning into, make sure you're going uphill if you don't have a buddy. Because I've done the opposite, where if you're not going uphill, it can be a little treacherous and a little tricky when you get stuck to go back, unless of course the weight of the truck is pushing you back like this. So yeah, it's still, now we're getting into some deeper snow here, and this is kind of getting where, oh, bottomed out a little bit there. Oh, big dip. I think this is where that guy turned around as well, because this is where it gets a little, let me just stop here. I'm going to take it over here. I'll take it to the end here. And now we're starting to get a little tricky. So I'm going to stop right here, and we're going to finish this, and I'll tell you why I'm going to stop right here. So let me explain myself to you, not that I'm afraid to go, but I really hate snow wheeling by myself. I love snow wheeling, but by myself, it's pretty sketch. So what can happen here is you can go sliding sideways. The hill's kind of cambered like this, and then if that happens, obviously when you're in snow, you may not be able to pull yourself out, and then you got a hell of a long walk back to the trailhead, or in this case Montezuma, in which case it's not a lot of fun. So guys, thanks for watching. I have to say, I like this truck a lot, as you can tell. I would say that if you're looking for a mid-sized truck, the 2026 Toyota Tacoma, and you don't have to get the premium package. You know, if you need everything you want and everything you need, nothing you don't, just stick with the regular off-road, and you'll get all of this off-road goodness. You won't have the heated and cooled steering wheel, but you know what? That's stuff that's not going to break on you. All right, thanks. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to head back, yeah, a couple more weeks, and we'll be up here pretty regularly. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Remember, heading over to alltfl.com for more news, views, and real world, about as real as it gets. I don't know if there's any bears around here. Toyota Tacoma off-road reviews. Ciao.